operate much longer without being tethered, can do much more without a power tether, and will eventually lead to power armor.
Excellent.
Wow.
The only thing I have to say about that is that they're trying currently to remove the pilot from the jet fighters.
Uh-huh.
And it's cool too in its own right, but considering also the fact that they are developing robots that have emotions.
Right.
The ghosts in the machine
and
anymore?
also the kill.
Well, I mean, okay, right now they're talking about okay, it would make a lot of sense to design fighters that don't have human pilots, but are rather remote operated. Why? Because, okay.
They're not even looking to do that.
Right, I know, but I mean, if you were to do that, go with that step. Right now, trying to find somebody, the only reason that they have a surplus of applicants for fighter pilots is because the job is perceived as being unbelievably cool.
Yeah.
Saying, I'm a fighter pilot will get you laid.
Saying you're a fighter pilot will, in a room full of CIA agents, FBI agents, SEALs, a bunch of other really high-profile, highly dangerous jobs,
well,
right? Will make you the spotlight in the area.
Now,
what can you say when you are sitting in the cockpit when fire's coming out your rear end and you're on?
Blasting
if you take away
Steve music of Highway to the Nation.
Yes.
If you take away the respect factor, the perceived coolness of being a fighter pilot,
Most of them are jerks anyway.
the job kind of sucks, really.
Yeah.
Given the people who are eligible for it. Okay.
Oh well.
You have to have perfect physique.
Yes.
You have to have perfect vision.
You're not correctable by anything. Just perfect. 2020. Something that's increasingly not able to do.
The amount of education and the amount of time and education spent learning this particular specialized field that can't really cross over to much else is the equivalent of earning a master's degree in any other field.
Yeah.
Which would earn you 3 to 10 times as much money as you make as a fighter pilot. So I mean,
the only thing that would make it cooler is being an astronaut.
So I mean, if you take the cool factor is pretty much the only thing that keeps this the percentage of people capable of doing the job is very small, and the competition for people smart enough and with the physical prowess to do this job
is quite small too.
They could be making assloads more money elsewhere.
Yeah.
Well, and I want to add something. There's two jokes. One of them relates to what you're talking about, Adam.
But, I'm sorry, but I have to say, no, you're not interrupting me.
Hey, Stainbusters, another stain missed, another shirt.
Sorry.
The point I was trying...
We don't even do ads. We're doing other people's ads on our show.
The point I was trying to make, though, is if we take out the pilot, let it be remote operated, what does that open up the field to potential pilots to be? How many video game players do we have in this country?
We're oversaturated.
And what would be a remote piloting would be what? Playing a hyper-realistic simulator.
Here's the fun thing about Adam, though, is that you say this country, right? Compared to Korea, where video game playing is a actual job.
Yeah.
But I mean, okay, so
you have to be absolutely excellent to do that. But
and what is the single biggest limiting factor in designing aircraft?
The human inside it.
The little squishy guy running it. I mean, okay, I've got a friend who did maintenance on F-18s in the Navy. And they were always asking, what can we do to make this better? What can we do to improve? And his #1 recommendation every single time was, remove the pilot. The plane can take off by itself, can land by itself, can land more accurately than the pilot can on the carrier with less likelihood of failure, can fly the mission by itself, can find the target by itself, can identify the target by itself, and if the pilot decides he doesn't want to fire, somebody back on the ship can override the pilot's decision not to fire and fire the missile anyway.
Well,
so, given that the plane itself is capable of pulling a 12G turn, the pilot is capable of pulling, the plane is capable of pulling a 12G turn for several minutes solid. The pilot is capable of pulling a 10G turn for 5 seconds.
At most, yeah.
Don't make the crew chief angry because he might make sure you never fly again. That was the joke.
Yeah. Now,
although he won't make sure your plane crashes, he will put you out or put you down or put a bullet in your chest when you come back.
Oh, true.
There were incidences in World War II where crew chiefs got so mad at the pilots for bringing that plane back, shot up so full of holes that they put the pilot down themselves and said, "Get me another pilot, one who won't hurt my baby."
Nice. We shouldn't laugh about it, especially since it's a horrible, horrible thing. But
it's true.
But it's I don't know. It triggers that laugh function in the back of my brain. So,
although usually they would put them down with their fist, not with a.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Anyways, let's go on to more happy stuff here.
Okay.
So yeah. My computer's still making up. It was one thing I wanted to talk about, which I don't have any real big substantial things. I didn't even read it very much. But apparently the Daily Cost put out a hit piece against libertarians.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where would I find this?
It'd be on dailycost.com, I guess, or whatever the hell it is, right? And search for libertarians. I think I found it through Freedom's Phoenix, excuse me, or Free Talk Live's blog. Oh, right. But it comes directly from Daily Cost. It's daily, as in how to spell daily, KOS.
And what the Daily Cost doesn't realize is that there are progressive-leaning libertarians, and that's progressive.
No, it's not that at all. It's I should also point out the fact that they're making hit pieces against libertarians in general, because libertarianism is growing.
So what is Daily Cost?
Okay, that's interesting. It's a political blog, a very liberal/socialist blog site.
Yeah.
Much like the Huffington Post in a sense, except it's older than Huffington Post, as I understand it.
Because looking at their banner reminds me of Soviet-era propaganda posters.
Yeah, and it's another fun part there. Let's see, I'm setting up the hook over here. Let's see here.
I'm looking for the libertarian thing, and I don't know where I'd find it.
Let me see it right quick here. It'd be, wow, I'm surprised you couldn't find it. Let's see here. Where's all? There's no alls here. Comments.
Does it have a search engine?
Sort by time. Yeah, we're looking at the search engine right now, actually.
Okay.
Holy crap, I don't know what I was talking here.
Well, do you remember when it was written, or how
It's fairly recent here.
Okay.
Actually, you don't mind, let me go ahead and sit down and look at it.
Didn't you say something about it being
Jobs?
Oh,
well, hold on a second. Let me borrow your computer there, Mark.
There you go.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Top 10 jobs in libertarian paradise.
Oh, you found it.
That's the one you were looking for?
That's the one I was looking for. You found it. Yeah, so the only thing I remember offhand is that the first one we talked about was like plague body count.
Plague corpse disposal.
Yeah, that's actually a legitimate thing, so I wasn't really too upset with that. But down further on is what I got into it.
With the CDC no longer wasting taxpayer money rewarding people too lazy to defend themselves against disease, new opportunities would exist in the field of plague corpse disposal. A strong, motivated, red-blooded, true American, you need not worry about becoming infected yourself. No dirty foreign pathogen is going to corrupt your precious body fluids. If you can earn a living ridding society of festering reminders of poor and sickly whom God in his infinite capitalist wisdom has seen fit to remove from the society of worthier people.
Hold on a second here. The first part there is, it's really interesting. That itself, if we had a plague come through, would be a very legitimate job to have, right?
Somebody'd have to cart off the bodies.
Now, the fact of the matter remains is that you wouldn't have the bloated government CDC, but you wouldn't have some market-based CDC, or multiple. The witch detector here we see next is, no one I know is libertarian actually believes in witches, though. Not in the sense that the historical witchcraft, anyways.
Besides the historical witchcraft, if you read Witch Craze, was those who were declared witches were more healers, doctors,
or people who were just basically high on something. Yes.
Reader?
Yeah, it's the idea that no one would learn how to read, which is funny because Could you tell me if you tell me if suddenly tomorrow this public school system was gone and you had to teach your children everything or find a way to teach them everything, right? You would at least teach them how to read.
Well, here's
you and your wife are avid readers, for God's sakes.
Here's my problem with their assumption that we'd all be illiterate without a public school system. People will learn for themselves out of their own free will.
Yeah, majority of public school is really a relatively new invention. Private schools are just basically, because since reading itself, if anything else would be make you in a more beneficial position than the person who can't. We're talking about a race towards being able to read multiple languages rather than someone just being able to live life of luxury off being able to read, essentially.
Right.
It'd be nice to be able to do that. I'll be right now. Yay, I'm living up, I'm reading books for a living.
So, that just boggles my mind. It makes absolutely no sense that they would put that in there. I'm going to debunk this list.
Well, dude, so. I mentioned it because it's a hit piece.
Yeah.
The guy who wrote this, whether it's Koss himself, right, or some other little Kazakh, whatever the hell they call themselves, right?
Right.
Yeah, is they are very big government kind of people, and they're kind of not. What's the word I'm looking for here? Ashamed to say so.
Yeah.
What's the one not the reader though?
Well, no, I'm challenging the reader one because something I'd read years back indicating how very literate our population was back in the time of founding when there was no such thing as public school.
Yeah, you remember just about 1850, all those 1850 little 8th grade school tests kind of thing we went through? How we couldn't answer one question without like saying a cheat sheet on a math possession?
Well, okay, check this. Common Sense by Thomas Paine.
Yep.
Is considered a college-level text.
Currently, yes.
In its first year of printing in 1775, 500,000 copies were sold. 500,000 copies were sold.
Right.
Given that people shared books all the time because of the expense of books.
Yeah, it wasn't very expensive at the time. Now it's not nearly as expensive.
Shared them all the time. What was the population of the U.S. of the 13 colonies at that time?
I don't know offhand, man.
2.5 million people.
So we're talking about
one person in 5 bought this.
Right.
Yeah.
Given the average household size of the day of being 6 to 12, this means most families had 1 or 2 copies available. Just from what was bought the first year,
and we're assuming on the average here, obviously.
Right. So this was a very literate. We were a very literate society back then.
One can arguably say, in fact, if you want, I unfortunately don't have any. Well, once my computer's a little messed up right now, but there are people out there like the School Sucks podcast that should mention that they are against public schools, but they are for education. Right. Make a point of saying, and Mises makes a point here saying that when it comes to literacy rates, anyways, right? We were actually at a better literacy rate 100 years ago than we have currently. And what has changed in that time frame? But public schools, the Volksschule, kindergarten. It's actually the public school system is really the history of it shows that it's really heavily influenced by the Prussian model. And the Prussian model had 2 separate schools. You had the Volksschule, or the People's School, right?
And No Child Left Behind.
No, I'm not even finished here, man.
Sorry.
Yeah. And we had the school for people who were going through rural society.
Yes.
And they did not have the same education. The people who were going to rural society, they needed to have this high literacy rate, high mathematical rate, all this kind of stuff, all the beautiful, wonderful stuff we want education to be, right?
Yeah.
The people who were in the Volksschule, in the public school system, right? They were taught what was needed to do industrial jobs and to go into the military.
And I was just going to add that Ross is absolutely right, because what kind of sealed the deal in making it heavily a Prussian model was No Child Left Behind, in which you would actually have military recruiters walk in carte blanche for...
how old is No Child Left Behind?
It's very old, but it still hasn't been repealed. So
And No Child Left Behind was brought in with Bush.
Yeah.
So it's